So, Joe, did you see that picture of Mark in the Bahamas at Baha Mar? Busted up his nose in the first few hours he was there.
Yeah, you should have seen the other guy. No, it's not a huge thing, but I think Mark has more stuff happen to him on his trips than certainly the both of us combined, at least.
For sure. He's going to be back next week. We'll talk all about Baha Mar, the Bahamas. This week, we're going to talk about my last minute trip to Texas. That spring break trip I booked the same day, Joe, plus your Aeroplan, your Christmas market plans for this year. All of that coming up right now. So as I teased in the beginning, I did end up taking a spring break trip. It's weird how I've been teasing this and going through the weirdness. I feel so strange because I'm so out here in public talking about my stuff. And it was pretty obvious, I think, to everybody that I was non-committal in what I was going to do for spring break. And I ended up in Texas.
Yeah, so you told me you were in Texas, but, it's famously one of the largest states. So where in Texas did you actually end up?
Did I never put the city of where I went to Six Flags Over Texas? So that should tell you where it was. It was Dallas. But what happened was, coming into spring break, I still had a amount of work to do. And the schedule was a little weird because Mark's on spring break this week and I was last week. And so we couldn't really like push shows and take time off in a way where I could have the whole week off, unfortunately. And so I was going to work from the road. And that's sort of where my hesitation was from doing a big trip. I was looking at Colombia. I had almost, kind of booked Colombia. And then we had kind of settled on a road trip to California because that was easier and that allowed me to work through like Wednesday and then leave Wednesday afternoon. Well, I was editing Wednesday morning and I got a craving for Texas barbecue, fired up Seats.aero, looking at what's available, ended up seeing Savor Alaska Awards to Dallas. And just a few hours later, we were on a plane to Texas. That's how it all happened. Gotta love miles and points.
Yeah, that's really nice. I mean, whenever you do things like this, I always wonder, Jasmine, Ellie, no opinions. They're like, yeah, let's go. Okay, wait. Before you answer that part, were you like pre-packed to go somewhere and then did that? Or was it like you booked the flights and then you had like 5 hours or whatever to pack and get to the airport?
Yeah, so we were going to leave. We were going to take a road trip to California. So it didn't, like, packing wise, I don't think we did anything that required change. And it wasn't my decision. I asked Jasmine, I said, how would you feel about eating some Texas barbecue tonight? And she liked the idea. So that's sort of how it happened. It wasn't like me saying we're going to Texas. I found the idea, talked to her. She was on board. And, it worked. It's fun to have a thought and then be on an airplane that night. And these last couple of weeks are weird because our anniversary was about a week and a half ago. And then a few days later is my birthday. And then Ellie's birthday is exactly a week after mine. So a lot of celebrating going on. But this trip was really focused on Ellie and her birthday. So it was a lot of fun in that way. And she had a good time. So here's a question. I don't know if it was worth it or not, but I booked first class on the way there. It was 15,000 Alaska miles each. It's about a 2-hour, 10-minute flight. So not really worth it. But to see the look on her face, she was so excited to start the trip in first class. So I burned a few extra Alaska miles, but yeah, she really enjoyed that.
Well, what was not first class, like 7,500? So it was like about double. I mean, it is for her birthday. So I think that's good. And it's always nice to spring a little bit. I mean, it is a little bit trickier for Alaska miles since they're a little bit harder to earn. I've never done, actually, have you ever done the, what is it? Amex to Hawaiian to Alaska. Have you done that before? Or like, is that pretty fast to do? Or, I'm sure you had Alaska miles hanging around like at that moment, but I find that's one of the mileage currencies I'm like kind of hesitant to use because I'm like, how am I going to refill these?
Yeah, I went back and forth last year and I talked about it on the podcast when Hawaiian had that 20% transfer bonus and speculatively transferred over, I think, 300 something thousand. I ended up with over 400,000 Alaska miles. So I transferred over quite a bit of American Express membership rewards to Hawaiian and got the bonus. And then eventually they opened up transfers to Alaska. I believe it's all instant. So when I transferred to Hawaiian, it was instant. And then later on, when I moved those over to Alaska, it was instant. So fairly easy. And so I'm sitting on, 400,000 Alaska miles purely because of that, because my balance was pretty low. I still was a little hesitant. If it wasn't her birthday and got her a little bit excited, but still, I mean, you're talking 7,500 miles each. And, it was nice to start the trip off that way. On the way back, we flew economy. It was crazy. AA was flying a 7879 from Dallas to Las Vegas. So we flew on a 787 in economy on the way back. That would have been cooler to be in first class, but that was all sold out, of course.
Wow, why were they flying that? That's so funny. Did it seem like that was what they regularly fly, or was it, just I don't know. Sometimes they have these one-off random flights, but there was that time where like they used to fly this was before everything transcontinental was lie flat. I think United or something had like a 777 that was lie flat flying, these random transcontinental routes before, AA started with all the flagship first and all that stuff.
Yeah, I haven't paid close attention. AA used to fly Miami to Vegas on a 777 all the time. But late, I never seen Dallas to Vegas in that. The plane came in from Brazil and then to Dallas to here, back to Dallas. So I didn't pay attention to where it was going after that. It was almost completely full, like 2 empty seats on the entire aircraft. So they filled it up, and they have tons of flights every day. Most of the flights are on narrow bodies, of course, but that was kind of a cool way. I always like flying on wide bodies domestically, but it sort of reminded me, sitting in the back there, I don't fly in the back on wide bodies all that often. And I just did that with United to Hawaii too. They flew I think it was a 787 as well to Hawaii that we did on a recent trip to Alani. But yeah, I like that. It's nicer than a narrow body, gives you a little bit more space and comfort, and yeah, it's a novelty, right? I guess.
I was just thinking about it because it's a novelty here, but I feel like all the intra-Asia flights, even I was looking, we're thinking about going to Japan this summer, and I was just looking from Tokyo to Sapporo and from Osaka/Kyoto, KIX to Sapporo, and all of those are wide bodies, and so it feels like more, I guess, normal there. And then this is different because it's like going between countries, but just getting from Japan to Hong Kong or Japan to Taiwan, those 3-4 hour flights, those are all wide bodies too. And I remember when I was in Japan in 2020 or 2019, excuse me, and I was like, hey, why is this a wide body? This 45-minute flight. It was like 1 hour flight, and it was on a wide body. It was on like a 777 or something. So it is unique here. I feel like in Asia, you got tons more people. Maybe it's a little bit less unique there, but I think it's always a fun experience to just get on one of these. It feels like it's going to be a long haul, but you're on and off in like an hour and a half.
Yeah, and the airlines in Japan have these 777s configured for those routes, which means they have a lot more economy seating, a lot less of the premium seating, recliner seats up front, and they can put like 400 something people on them. I've done a 777 with ANA on an hour flight. I forgot we were flying from Tokyo to somewhere, but it was an hour flight. And I know this has been said before, everybody says this, but it really is amazing to watch how quickly and efficiently the Japanese will get on an airplane, load up 400 people in like 10 minutes. Everybody sits down. It really is cool to see compared to how we do it here.
Yeah, efficiency is the way to go. Though I feel like slowly but surely the airlines have been figuring out their boarding processes. I feel like it's, this is all anecdotal just from me from, maybe a dozen flights in the last 2 or 3 years, but it feels like it's gotten a little bit smoother. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was really impressed with the AA flight coming in. People got on quickly. We got off quickly. So what you're saying holds up there. But Texas, Dallas, I mean, I really love it. The last time we were in Dallas, as like a vacation, not just First off, I should say that I went back and thought about it. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but it's at least the last 5 or 6 times I've been through DFW, I've had significant delays. Indeed, our flight out from Vegas was delayed an hour, which kind of sucks, meaning we got there at like 1 a.m. But flying back on time. So that is my first on-time flight in a very long time out of DFW. And I was, excited to see that. That airport is just terrible. I don't know what to say about it as far as like AA will switch your plane a million times, switch your gate a million times. They just love to play games there. And I was so happy to end the trip with an on-time flight.
Yeah, I'll take first class on the way down and on time on the way back. That's not bad. Yeah, DFW, plus they have like all the storms in the summer, so that is like a disaster and difficult to fly through. I think about this for international flights. It's like normally I'd be like, oh, an hour and a half, maybe that's okay for a connection. But like flying through places like DFW, Florida, even honestly anywhere in the middle of the summer, it's stressful having a short connection. Like Chicago can get storms in the summer, so it is something that is concerning. So I assume you went to Six Flags over Texas, and how did you do that? I feel like
We did it.
you can't be that close to the theme park without going.
Well, Six Flags Over Texas is really interesting to talk about. But before I do, I want to talk about the Capital One Lounge in Las Vegas because it just opened a couple weeks ago, meaning we have our own Capital One Lounge and meaning that we were able to start and end our trip here with Capital One Lounges, the original one in Dallas and then the new one in Vegas. The one in Vegas, great reviews. It is the Capital One Lounge product that you probably know and love from the other lounges that you've been to. Small bites, you can take to go, grab and go stuff. It's a little smaller than I would like. I think it's about 8,000 square feet, but I think it's going to get very popular and full. But it is nice. They used a kind of a maroon carpet that I didn't love, kind of going for the desert vibe. But overall, I mean, it's very nice looking. The service is better. I would take it over the Centurion Lounge in Las Vegas any day. And I'm very, very happy to have this. Like I put on Twitter, this was the first time I left for the airport here in Las Vegas early in many years because I stopped going to the Centurion Lounge.
I'm surprised that it doesn't have waits already. I just feel like with the Centurion Lounge and just all the lounges, like there's so many people flying through Vegas. So many people who fly through Vegas have these premium credit cards. I know, wasn't it this year that Capital One just like took away some of the access to their Capital One lounges for like the mid-tier cards? Am I getting that right?
I think so. And I think they can still buy access. And then obviously, if you have a Venture X or Venture X business, you get in with 2 guests, which is really nice compared to American Express. Hence why I probably stopped going to the Centurion Lounge. Although I really, even before they did that, I wasn't prioritizing going there before a flight. I have it down pretty well at Las Vegas Airport where I can get there, get to my gate within 5 or 10 minutes of boarding. And I'm much more happy to do that. But it was nice to hang out in the Capital One Lounge for an hour. The food was good. The service was really good. It overlooks that atrium, when you kind of go to the D gates there, Joe, that big atrium that you should go up those escalators. It's right there to the right. So you have these really nice views of the atrium in the airport. And they just did a great job. And it's nice to see Las Vegas getting that. We are supposed to get a Chase Lounge too in the C terminal, which is where Southwest flies. So at some point soon, we'll have all 3 of the big credit card lounges. There's a club with Priority Pass, a United Club. So Las Vegas really has matured in the lounge space, I think.
Is there something you look for the most out of a lounge? I feel like for me, I would take it being quiet over everything, but then I feel like that is just not possible these days unless you're flying at a random point. And then I don't know, because like I guess you know what I really like at lounges, and I think I only got this once in, I think it was Vienna, at Swiss Air Lounge. They had these little individual Haagen-Dazs ice creams. I loved that. So I like nice little cute snacks.
Yeah, I like little things like that. I mean, I like the way the Capital One does it. They have pretty good food and it's the grab and go. I'll try to show some video here of what I got. I'm not remembering off the top of my head exactly the food that we ate, but Jasmine was able to get a cocktail, which was nice. I'm not drinking, but she got me a mocktail so I could film that. And it was actually really good. I don't know if they were using some of the, some places use this fake booze that kind of tastes like booze. Other places make mocktails with like juices and stuff, but it actually kind of tasted like a cocktail. It was pretty good. And the service was really nice. So it's a great option for people coming into Vegas. But like going into Dallas, I don't think we had a whole lot to do. We have our memberships with Six Flags. So for people who don't know what Six Flags Over Texas is, it is the original Six Flags park. And there is some history behind that. It was inspired. The guy who founded it, his first name is Angus. I forget his whole name, but isn't Angus like the most Texas name that you could possibly have? He visited Anaheim, went to Disneyland, and in 1959, he was inspired to build a park in Texas. And the opening, I sent you a link with some of the old park maps. Joe, today it looks like a Six Flags park. So there's coasters everywhere. You know, what you would expect from Six Flags, you get that. But back when it opened, it was very much inspired by Disneyland. And you even had like a Rivers of America section and a lot of that theming. And of course, this is where the Six Flags name comes from. Did you know that, what the meaning is behind Six Flags?
I knew at one point, but I have forgotten. So please remind me and everyone who is dying to know, I'm sure.
All right, let's see if I can do this off the top of my head. Six Flags stands for the six countries or things that ruled over the state of Texas over the years. So that would be the United States of America, the Confederate States of America, the Texas Republic, France, Spain, And oh my God, Joe, I had this. I looked it up right before again, and yeah, there. What am I missing? Oh my God. Anyway, so
Don't ask
that's
me.
and they used to actually fly the Six Flags over the entrance all the way through 2017, believe it or not. Then obviously with the Confederate flag, they changed it. Now it's just American flags over there. But it has a big history, a cool park, and it is the original Six Flags park. And we enjoyed going there. Just fun coasters. Used my Meta smart glasses to film some stuff, and those are holding up. I remember we talked last year when I went on the spring break trip to Portugal and Paris, just how much I enjoyed using those, continuing to enjoy. I think everybody should get a pair of these. I don't use them all the time. It's not like I'm out in the world filming everything, but on these family vacations, especially when you're doing rides and stuff, it's so nice to be able to, like, there's this new water coaster there. It's like a launched water coaster, kind of first of its kind. And I'll show video of this right now, but just being able to have video of Ellie being on that and having the fun of all that. And that was a great day. But I was really most excited to go back to Fort Worth. A couple of years ago when we were there, we got stuck there in this ice storm. Our flights were canceled and we basically had to hunker down in the Hyatt Regency Dallas. But before the storm came in, we went to the stockyards in Fort Worth, and it was not supposed to rain yet. And they canceled at the very last minute the cattle drive, which is their famous, you can go twice a day. The cattle walk down the street, and it's a very popular tourist attraction. So we didn't get to see it, and it would have been cool to see it then because there wasn't that many people. Went back. This was also spring break in Dallas this week, so everything was a little bit busy, but it was packed over there. But we finally got to see the cattle drive. The stockyards area of Fort Worth is really an incredible place to walk around. I highly recommend it. Ellie got to go sit on a bull. They had these bull photo opportunities. $10 though. I don't know if it was worth $10 to take a picture of her on a bull, but it was her birthday and nothing else down there cost us anything. So we went ahead and did it. But I don't know if I got my bang for my buck on that one.
You know, for those photos, I'm always like, oh, I mean, it is true. They're going to grow up and we're going to be glad we had it. I think the problem that I run into is how will I ever find that photo ever again now that I have thousands and thousands of photos? I think every individual photo that I have for something like that, like whether it be on a ride or like with a funny character or just at a random place, like we just took photos at the British Virgin Islands in front of like the BVI sign, like all that stuff is cool, but it's like, when will I ever find it again? I need to get one of those picture frames that just cycles through the photo so that like it'll come up every once in a while because it feels like it's worth the $10, but only if you can find it later.
It was worth it because she was really happy. It was something that she, getting on the bull with the horns and all of that. I mean, this is a great topic and one maybe I should tackle at some point about organizing photos, because I've been traveling really heavily with the family since 2007. I have tens and tens and tens of thousands of photos, lots of videos now. And some of the newer stuff, obviously, it gets categorized by location and stuff, and you can search in Google Photos or Apple Photos. Apple Photos is not great for search. And Google Photos, they just released an AI search, which is like 10 times worse than the classic search, but you can still use that.
Oh my gosh. Do not get me freaking started on Google trying to force all of its AI stuff on us. That is awful. Like, get this Gemini out of my Gmail, please. But anyway, sorry, I digress.
Well, on the old Google photo search, you could say, my family, I don't have every face in there, but I have our family members. So I'll have Elizabeth Coomer. It knows her face and I've put her name in there. So I could just search Elizabeth Coomer, Dallas 2025 and sort of find a photo that way. If I search that in their new AI search, it'll give me like 4 photos. And then I go to classic search and it'll show all the photos that I want. And yeah, but I mean, just over the years, like our old photos, 2007, I used to, try to do file names back then. These are shot on digital cameras and stuff with the areas we were in. So I think most of the time I can remember how I named the stuff. So when I'm searching, but a lot of those don't have geotags and stuff. So it's not like I can say it was Guatemala City or wherever it was. And it's become increasingly difficult. And then in the age of being a YouTuber, I shoot so much video now. I'm also having issues with storage and, what's a personal memory versus work, and deleting old footage that I don't need, and what should I have for the archives. And so I have a whole mess of organization. It's just gotten out of control. And sometimes when I'm looking for a photo, to your point, it used to take me a minute and now it's taking me a while. But yeah, the good thing with Ellie is Shawn Reese never loved to go back and look at photos and videos. Ellie loves it. So at least, and I love it too. So it's like, it's great that we have that. And we do actually go back and relive the stuff.
It's good for the parents. I have a notification every Sunday, 9:30 p.m. Clean up photos. I've ignored that for possibly 3 years, counting, maybe more. So I'm sure this service definitely exists now, but I feel like 10, 15 years from now, there's gonna be, you know how like Costco can convert your VHS tapes into DVDs, or digital now. Like I feel like there are going to be services where people will go through all your photos and at the very least delete all the duplicates, because I'm sure you've run into this problem, or someone has run into this problem. I download or I have the photos, they're on my computer, I get a new computer, I move them over, and now they're backed up twice, but they're from like 2014, so I don't even go back and check, and they're taking double the space and all that stuff. Anyway, no one cares about this, but I'm sure you all struggle with this, even if you don't care about this. Most of you struggle with this, even if you didn't come here to listen about that.
Well, one last thing before we move on from that is now, because of different storage sizes and the plans that you have to have for cloud backup. And again, this is largely a problem because I do YouTube stuff and I'm filming a lot more video, which is heavy in size. I have half my collection on Google Photos, and then that got full. And then in order to get to like a really, really high plan, it would be just super expensive. So now I have my Apple. So now some of it's on Apple, some of it's on Google. And when I'm looking for B-roll, it's a mess. So yeah, I need AI to smarten up a little bit so it can save me from all of this and to reorganize it. You're talking about like, terabytes of data or whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah,
so
no,
it's crazy.
Terabytes. It's terabytes at this point.
Yeah.
I think it's funny, like there are all these financial hacks, and maybe we just don't know them. There are financial hacks for like streaming services, like, you can rotate through Apple TV Plus multiple times, Paramount Plus, Amazon Prime. Like you can do all these services and all that stuff, YouTube TV deals and stuff like that. There is no, that I'm aware of, there's no good, it's not, I don't regularly see deals on your storage space, because I think these companies know that, maybe you'll get the first 2 or 3 months free, but no one is like moving 10 terabytes of data from storage server to storage server just to save money. So they know they just kind of get you on the long run. They can creep up their prices over time.
Yeah, it's this it's so funny. I really wonder, leave a comment, let us know if this is something you're dealing with, because I think as content creators, we're dealing with it. But I think more and more people are creating content in their own way, whether, it's TikToks or they're filming more video. They might have taken pictures 5 years ago. Now they're filming a video, and that just takes up more space. I imagine a lot of people are running into this, but I did want to just run down a few things. So Six Flags Over Texas, it is a Six Flags park, but it is a lot of fun, a lot of history there. Had the first log flume ever. So, if you go to a modern amusement park with a log flume, Arrow was the first to build a modern log flume. That company also built Matterhorn at Disneyland, stuff like that, the first steel coaster. But that's where that is in Six Flags Over Texas. A lot of other firsts there as well. So it's kind of a cool historic park. And if there's one Six Flags park that actually has some culture to it, it's probably that one. And enjoyed it. Good operations. The weather was nice there. We also did a bonus stop. We're driving down the freeway, saw this little family fun center that had this kiddie coaster. So we went and rode that, but did mini golf. Ellie got to do her first go-kart because she's finally tall enough to drive a go-kart. And that was a lot of fun. But we also had some good barbecue. Now, like a tradition for us since the first time we ever went to Texas, and this was San Antonio in 2007, we went to Rudy's Barbecue. Back then there was some locations. I mean, it was a chain already, but now it's like exploded all over Texas in the Southwest. And I feel like maybe the quality isn't quite what it used to be. So we did that one night. It was probably the worst Rudy's experience I've ever had. It was good, but not great. But then I found this place, Hurtado's, which is near Six Flags, but there's also locations in Fort Worth and Dallas. They have 4 locations just in Dallas, local chain. I sent you pictures in the chat so you could see it. The green chili mac and cheese, the Hatch green chili mac and cheese, top 5 mac and cheese I've ever had. This is some of the best Texas barbecue I've ever had, which is, I wasn't expecting that. It was so good. And everything in the picture, $51, which seemed like a great deal for me. I mean, it was just a ton of food, more than we could eat as 3 of us. And that hit the spot. So I got to eat Texas barbecue a couple times, got some Tex-Mex there. And also went to the North Park Center in Dallas, which is this giant mall. I guess it's a famous mall known as the nicest mall in Dallas. Shout out Benji, because he's the one who said it's his favorite mall in America. And when Benji tells you something's his favorite, you got to go. So we walked around there a little bit. I mean, it's a mall, but Ellie did get to go inside Louis Vuitton. So that was another thing that she was happy with. No, we didn't buy her anything.
For your, what is she like 10 or 11 now? For your 10th, let's just say 10, just for the sake of, for your 10th birthday, your big double-digit birthday, you can walk into a Louis Vuitton store. But you're going to have to wait till you have your own money to buy stuff.
Yeah, apparently. I didn't go in with her and Jasmine, but apparently she found some shoes that she liked, and Jasmine said they were $3,000. So there's that. But she fell in love with Louis Vuitton because of staying at the Hyatt Centric in Ginza, which is right across the street from their, I would say, one of their flagship stores. It's like a 6-story store in this incredible building in Ginza. And she's always wanted to go inside of that. And, in Asia, I always feel very intimidated by going into some of those stores because just the way it's all handled, there's always a door person, and they have very much more personalized service, I would say. So
yeah, like it doesn't
I don't
feel
want
like
to
you
go
can
in.
you can't just wander through in Asia. It feels like in those nicer stores, like it feels like someone is going to talk to you.
Yeah, and you don't want to waste their time when you're not really doing it. But I did find out the Louis Vuitton store, which I never knew, in Tokyo, has a restaurant at the top. So the next time we go there, we're going to go eat at the Louis Vuitton restaurant if she really wants Louis Vuitton. But she's more into like the architecture because, all their stores, especially the standalone ones, have really cool architecture, and she's seen them in various cities. And I think I remember the one in Paris is really cool. That's really where she kind of likes it, just kind of the architecture and stuff.
What can they possibly sell at the Louis Vuitton restaurant? Like, I guess they have to sell all the beef that they get the leather from. Okay, that wasn't good. Let's move on.
All right, let's move on. It was an interesting week to be in Dallas too because of the JFK stuff happening last week. So hotel wise, it's very weird. We kind of moved around a lot. There's a lot of decent deal hotels for Hyatt in Dallas. We landed at 1 a.m, so we stayed at the Hyatt Regency DFW the first night. Just walked there. We got lucky, and this is another thing about DFW. You talked about connecting. I always have bad luck. People know it could take you 20 minutes on the train to get around that airport. And we actually landed in the C terminal, which is where the Hyatt Regency DFW was. So that was a luck there. Just stayed there. The next night we weren't sure where we were going to stay. I wanted to stay near Six Flags. Ended up back at the Hyatt Place by DFW, which is kind of just outside the airport. And they have suites in these newer, higher places. And they gave us a suite upgrade. That was great. And then we ended up at the Hyatt Regency Dallas for one night in downtown, a hotel I've stayed at a few times, which is really cool. It's near the 6th Floor Museum, which is where JFK was assassinated. And it's walkable to downtown Dallas. There are definitely hotels with better locations if you want to be in the center of downtown Dallas. And then we ended up back at the Hyatt Place with a suite the last night. So we actually moved hotels 4 nights. It wasn't a big deal. We were very mobile. We didn't have a lot of stuff. And it just sort of allowed us to kind of be open and move around the city or the cities the way we wanted. So nothing special hotel-wise. I like the Hyatt Regency Dallas. I've stayed there a few times. My first stay was the presidential suite where the plastic merchant passed out on my couch. Great story for another time, but a good history with that place.
Oh, man. Wayback Machine right there. I just props to you for being so flexible. I feel like I would be so stressed out if I didn't know where I was staying on any given night. Although, with miles and points, it makes things easier. And of course, I mean, you can always default to cash and staying at some random hotel if you have to. But I feel like I'm not cut out for that.
Well, I had searched and I knew what was available, what wasn't. So it wasn't a huge deal. It's just, how did our day go? Where did we want to end up? And, we ended up returning the car early the night before, so we didn't have to deal with it before our flight. So going to the Hyatt Place DFW, the other cool thing about that Hyatt Place is it's a 5-minute walk from the rental car center. So I was able to drop the rental car off, walk back to the Hyatt Place. Then we just took the shuttle in the morning. And just cost for everything, like I said, it was $15K plus, what was it, like $17 each for the flight out. The thing that sucks about Alaska, Joe, is that they charge that stupid $12.50, whatever that is, partner booking fee. So you have to pay that. But, that was just miles plus the taxes and fees. The hotels were all covered by points. The rental car was $150 for 3 days all in. And I used Capital One Travel and I used my Venture X credit for that. Because usually I go through national stuff. The prices were really high. I hadn't rented through Dollar Thrifty I had to go to the thrifty counter. I mean, the guy tried to railroad me into insurance coverage. I hadn't had that in a long time. Like he snuck it on the bill. I'm like, why are you doing a $200 deposit plus this? It was prepaid. He's like, oh, you have the basic coverage on there. He was just, it felt like I was back at Hertz in Mexico or something, fighting with the guy. But ultimately, it all went well. No extra charges. And I missed National a bit. But yeah, so the whole trip, other than doing, the stuff that we did, eating, activities, all paid for, miles and points. I don't know what the flights would have been. I never would have paid. I looked at the one-way flight for economy that we were on, not in first class. It was $444, but you can't take that. I mean, it was same day, all of that. But another reason, I mean, I'm kind of shocked that AA was releasing the Saver space to Alaska when they were charging $444 for the flight. But yeah, I mean, it's another reason that miles and points are great for last minute stuff.
Yeah, you have me thinking for spring break. We usually go visit Charlotte. We haven't bought our ticket. We bought our tickets home, but we haven't, or we booked on Miles our tickets home, but we haven't gotten our trip out yet. Now I'm like, oh, I wonder if I wait long enough. Should I gamble? Like, should I wait to see? Although, I guess in our case, we know we're going. Like, you had your road trip backup plan, and you were never going to pay $444 or whatever. For us, we know that we're going to go. I mean, I guess we don't have to go because we could cancel our return, but the in-laws are going too, so it's a big family thing. But maybe I'll gamble or see if I can get it on Alaska. I mean, I think that's a good thing. And it's also funny you bring up the Capital One credit. I was doing some housekeeping last week, and I was like, oh yeah, I have that. I should definitely use that. So definitely a good reminder. With all these credits, you forget. Like I meant to use my Dell credits 2 months ago. Still have not. Just like my clean up Google Photos reminder, I have been snoozing the Dell credits reminder on my Business Platinum.
Yeah, I mean, I do that with all kinds of stuff. I mean, the one thing about like I miss National because National, I always get a really nice car, have the status there, or dollar. They just assign the car, but they gave me a 2025 Hyundai Sonata, and I hadn't driven, a Hyundai Sonata in a while. I was really impressed with the way the inside looked, the way that they have the screens, and it's not too, I drive two electric vehicles that have almost no buttons inside, a Tesla and a Rivian, so I'm very used to that modern look where there's almost no buttons. And the Sonata had a good mix of screens and buttons, and for like what would be considered kind of like like not a fancy car at all, I really enjoyed driving it. So I would recommend that as a rental if you're ever trying to do it. And all the driving, I think we did 140 miles of driving around Dallas, and it was like $12 in gas that I had to put in at the end. So that was great too. So I always get these fancy cars that end up eating gas, and yeah, this was a great trip all around, just a lot of fun. Good food, so much good food. I mean, the barbecue, Texas barbecue is my favorite. I know I've had all the major kinds of barbecue. I love it, but nothing like going down to Texas and eating some cow.
Yeah, those pictures look amazing.
So I guess that was enough on my trip. Your Aeroplan. So you're going to the Christmas market. So we've talked about the Christmas markets. Mark is like obsessed with the Christmas markets. And I know it's something that's heavily on my list. I've only been to Easter markets in Europe, but so Aeroplan, that's your strategy?
Yeah, so I'm doing this thing where I'm kind of like booking backwards. So as of right now, I found Saver Business Award space from Amsterdam back to New Jersey, so that we can go straight to my parents and then spend like actual Christmas with them. And so our current plan is to take a couple days off of school, like right before the end of Christmas break. We're getting that long Christmas break again this year, which is the last time we're going to get it for like another 6 or 7 years. I don't know how calendars work and the earth revolves around the sun, but that's how it's going to work. And so I still have like all these extra Aeroplan miles from when I thought Amex actually did shut me down for a little while before they like miraculously brought people's cards back from the dead. This is from the 4 or 5 years ago thing. And so I was like, well, it's like on United, it's United Metal, so it's not like amazing, but on United Metal it was like $80K for business class. And on Aeroplan it's like $60K. And I have membership rewards points. I have all those Aeroplan points. For me, Ultimate Rewards is so much more valuable that like it's like a no-brainer to use Aeroplan instead. Then on top of that, like last year, because I dropped below 524 at the end of last year, I was thinking about, what cards to get, and I saw the Chase Aeroplan card, and because I had been using Aeroplan miles in general, this is back in December, so before I even booked this Christmas market trip, I was like, maybe it'd be good to, not use my membership rewards, have them be a little bit more flexible. And then I saw that with the Aeroplan card, you get, I think it's like Star Alliance Gold, for the first year you have it all the way through the next year. So instead of applying in December, I was like, well, let me apply in 2025. So I finally did that in February, and I got my new Chase Aeroplan card, and I've been using that. And so that's been fun. And so I should hit that bonus soon to replenish some of the miles I lost. But yeah, I don't know. It's like been an Aeroplan kind of time for the Cheung family, I guess.
Aeroplan has always been a program that I mean, I've enjoyed. I mean, it used to be, there was times I feel like in the past where it was a much better value than it is today, but it's fairly easy to transfer miles in there from different places. And the Aeroplan card, obviously a lot of innovations and better than a lot of airline cards. So certainly, pay yourself back, other things that make it stand out. And I always just had a soft spot in my heart for Aeroplan. I don't really know why, but I don't do much other than transfer in miles when it makes sense. But often, it's weird because have you noticed this? But when I'm looking at Star Alliance stuff, sometimes Life Miles will be good. Sometimes Aeroplan will be good. Oftentimes they don't have the same flights. I never understood that, because those are kind of my two Star Alliance. Because I'm like you, I almost never want to use United Miles now because I don't have any other than small balances, and I don't want to transfer Ultimate Rewards into there. I would just at this point it's just Hyatt. Ultimate Rewards is Hyatt, and that's the way it is.
Yeah, I feel like the ecosystem has really changed because 4 or 5 years ago, United still had really great partner deals. And so back then it was like worth it to move stuff into United to get Ultimate Rewards to fly, whether it be Lufthansa or, back when ANA was like a little bit less stingy with space, you could do that. Asiana, remember them? I don't know when the last time I've seen an Asiana, flight available on points. And so it was a lot more valuable then, but now it's like everything, business class starts at 80,000 to Europe, and economy starts at like 40,000 or whatever. It just feels like way too much. And like you said, yeah, you can get so much more value out of Hyatt. So for Star Alliance, it's like Aeroplan is the way to go for me. Life Miles is there as well. I mean, the nice thing about United is you can still get all your miles back. So you could use it as like a placeholder. And if you're not like 100% sure about, because Aeroplan still charges like a cancellation fee or whatever, unlike all the unlike all the US based airlines. But other than that, why would I move things to United? It just feels like everything is overpriced, unless I have like, it's different if you're like in a hub or whatever. But even if you're in a hub, you can get the membership rewards points and use Aeroplan like I did, because we're flying to Newark, right? So we're flying to a hub, but we're using, and it's going to be Polaris. I think it's their 787, which my son will be excited about, but we'll see. And of course, this flight's all the way in December, so who knows if they change stuff before then.
So, I mean, I love kids that get excited for airplanes. That's just to bring it all full circle, and it'll be a good trip and whatever gets you there. But yeah, just to think, I was just thinking when you're saying, yeah, 80K United to Europe, what was it, 50K, a few years ago was I mean, obviously they've done away with awards. So there's been so many, it depends on where you go back to, but I remember, and they often had sales and stuff like that. And back in the day, and I think you could get it for 30, 40K at certain points to Europe. I know I used to transfer to United just like you a ton from Chase. And so I agree with you. The more I think about it, it's probably because United's program kind of sucks is why we're not doing it. And then these points are just too valuable at this point to put over there. And yeah, it's all good. I guess I got to start planning the summer vacation. I don't know. Maybe I'll book something the day before this time. We have a lot up in the air. We do have a free cruise that we got from a casino here. So I told this on the MTM Vegas after show, but Jasmine has a friend who likes to gamble a lot, but is paranoid about using players cards in the casino. and they were at the Orleans here, a casino here one time, and Jasmine put her card in, and I guess she does really big bets. And all of a sudden, we started getting some nice offers. They all dried up after a month, right? Because Jasmine and I do go to the casino once in a while. She plays a little bit, but once they realized like the normal kind of play, it all dried up. But somehow we got into this free cruise thing, and so we ended up with a free inside cruise so it's inside, but it's on Princess or Carnival or Holland America. But obviously, we're gonna do Princess, and it's like a $5,000 cruise, or yeah, it was like 4,400, I think, even for an inside cabin that we can pick in Europe. So I believe, in June, and we hopefully will book it this week. It leaves out of Venice and it ends in Athens, and then goes to Istanbul and a lot of the Greek islands, Santorini and stuff. So that one is really exciting. I think we're going to do that. And we haven't been on Princess before, and the fact that it was free is pretty amazing. But I think that itinerary starting near Venice, it sucks that you can't start it. The cruises, I don't know if you know this, Joe, but they used to actually be right in Venice. They used to leave from Venice, and now because of the water, the destruction, they leave from a port not far from there. But I feel like that would be an amazing itinerary, taking her to go see Athens and Istanbul and Cyprus and all of that stuff. Some of the places we've been, some of the places we haven't, but that one has me excited. So I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel like those Greek Isle cruises are really nice. I mean, yeah, I'm sure it'd be nice to stay in Santorini for like 6 days or a week or something like that. But then a cruise is a way to like hit the different Greek Isles, and then, maybe get a little bit of Roman Empire history and culture along the way at some of the other stops. And so I think that is pretty awesome. Just random cruise thing. My wife happened upon the Amazon Prime show. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's like, it's basically the behind the scenes of a cruise, and they're like looking at the MSC, one of the newer MSC ships, and she was like fascinated by the whole thing. She's like, did you know that they have laundry machines that automatically fold everything, and they're doing laundry 24 hours a day and stuff like that? So anyway, if you're into the monstrosity / crazy human technical achievement that is cruise ships, check out that documentary on Amazon Prime. Not sponsored.
MSC has amazing pizza too. They make their own mozzarella on board. That's probably for me the best thing about MSCs. It's definitely, I like them better than Carnival, not as much as Royal Caribbean. That's where I would kind of slot them in, or Norwegian would be kind of up there with Royal Caribbean. So yeah, but MSC, they've really made a huge kind of splash in the US market, and they're huge around the world. And this isn't a cruise show, but I guess we should remind people that you are a travel agent and can help them with their cruise, their Disney stuff. So where can people find you? I guess we're not supposed to do this ending anymore, but definitely let people know, you have this expertise, so how they can do it without this. I was hearing Mark's voice in my head.
Yeah. Joseph Cheung at travelmation.net. You can follow me all over the social media web. Got that flub that badly at As Joe Flies. One thing you might be interested in, Shawn, is Norwegian actually invited me on the NCL Aqua that is going to not even leave the port of Boston. We're going to be on the Aqua for 2 nights. I may actually debark to go coach a soccer game and then go back on, depending on what's going on there. I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, they can't open the casino because we're still going to be in Boston waters. So, if I have the time, I'm going to debark. But yeah, that's going to be Norwegian's newest ship. I'm excited to check it out. I'll put some of that stuff up on social media. It's in a couple weekends.
Joe's living the life. I wish I could. I'm sure he's going to get Epic Universe previews at some point and all of this fun stuff that I don't get. But that's why you should use him, because he's great and he knows his stuff. So check him out. Mark will be back next week. We may have an episode of 20 Minute Travel later in the week. Not quite sure how that's going to work out. If not, we'll be back to our normal schedule next week. Thanks so much for listening, watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Thumbs up if you're on Apple. Give us a 5-star review. Help us reach more people. Thanks for watching and listening. Talk to you next time.
R.I.P. Mark's nose.